and welcome to a hopefully quick 5 reasons I am calling my reps this week. Even though Lindsey Graham is one of my representatives, we still need to put on public pressure and have a paper trail of upset constituents whenever we oust him this November. I don't know if this is doable with dogs in my lap, but oh well. Number 1 is the war in Iran, or Iran. I would like to pronounce it correctly. I want my reps to introduce another war powers vote to curtail Trump's power. They're supposed to have authority over when we go to war. I want them to not approve any additional spending for this war. It's crazy how much money we can throw at bombs and not at our Medicare. And also, I want them to conduct aggressive oversight hearings as to the administration's actions in Iran. Number 2, I'm not sure, Teddy might stay here the whole time, but anyway, number 2 is the Save America Act. So it's sitting in the Senate, and Donald Trump has recently said he's not going to sign any more bills into law until we pass the Save America Act, which is downright stupid. It disenfranchises voters. This is the man who keeps harping about 2020 voter election fraud. And they did actually find some election fraud in Georgia, but it was Elon Musk's PAC, the America PAC. They sent out pre-filled, hold on, let me see, I have the information here. They sent out pre-filled absentee ballot applications, which breaks the state law. So voting power lies in the states, which is, states' rights. Where are my state rights people at? Like, Republicans, isn't that kind of part of your whole thing? So anyway, other than that, it constitutes a poll tax because when you require identification that costs money, that's a poll tax, and that's against the 14th Amendment. It also makes it a lot harder for the elderly or disabled who maybe don't have driver's license, people who can't find their birth certificates and then have to shell out the money for another birth certificate, or women who maybe have changed their names because they got married or whatnot, and now their driver's license doesn't match their birth certificate, and so they can't register to vote that way. Anyway, it is a bill made to fix a voting problem that we don't have in what seems like a floundering administration's attempt to disenfranchise voters to help them win the next election. Number 3 is the Epstein files. They have not all been released yet. As per the Epstein File Transparency Act, which was signed into law last year, they are months overdue. So in the ones that they have released, they have redacted perpetrator names and they have doxed survivor names. So this is either grossly incompetent or it is grossly corrupt. And so I'm calling for the resignation of AG Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and then also Deputy Todd Blanche, because incompetence or corruption neither have a place at our highest levels of law enforcement. I also am calling for Donald Trump to testify. As President Clinton has now testified, we have a president precedent, as I like to call it, for Donald Trump to come and testify. And there is also a witness so credible that her testimony was used to put away Ghislaine Maxwell, who also reported that Donald Trump sexually abused her at 13 years old. She bit his wiener. You go, girl! DHS funding is number 4. This one is particularly frustrating for me. So right now our government is in a partial shutdown. So the proposed 2026 funding bill includes $18.3 billion to our Customs and Border Patrol, and then also includes $10 billion to ICE. Democrats are pushing for guardrails on that organization before they release any more funding. Now, I don't want them to receive any more funding, and I want the funding that they have to be taken away. But barring that, I want my Republican and Democrat senators to work together to put guardrails on this administration instead of what seems like Republicans sitting there doing nothing and just blaming Democrats for what is going to be happening to FEMA and TSA, because that is all part of DHS. I would really rather all of my representatives work together to make this country work instead of, work for their party and work for the president, because most importantly, they work for us and we don't work for them. And so I'm going to call and be telling them with my voting power, with my voice, that I want guardrails on this organization and to stop messing around with each other and get funding passed. Number 5. H.R. 7661 is a House bill to block funding for schools or programs that provide access to sexually oriented material to people under the age of 18. So it's a book ban bill, which is not as cute as it sounds. This bill does specify sexually oriented material as nude adults, individuals who are stripping, or lewd and lascivious dancing. What's up, Footloose? It also groups in tangential issues of gender, like gender dysphoria and transgenderism. We demonize information to keep it from our children instead of using it as a jumping off point to open communication and to learning, something they can see and ask questions about. So I've gone to a school board meeting last year where the principal took a book off of the shelves because a child asked him what romantic feelings meant, and he didn't know what to say, especially because it was between two people of the same gender. His point was that shouldn't that be something they talk about at home? And yes, it should be. But why are we divorcing learning at school from learning at home? Every educator, child caretaker, librarian, me as an ex-preschool teacher have and can say that is a great question. That's something you should ask your parent about or your guardian about to open up communication with them at home. We want all of our children to be well-educated and thoughtful children, right? To be good critical thinkers. I feel like that's something we can all agree on. But when we do stuff like this censorship, we make kids feel like certain topics are off limit, that it's scary to talk about, instead of an openness of asking questions and learning and feeling safe with all of their caretakers working together. So I'm going to say no to H.R. 7661, but yes to H.R. 6440, the Right to Read Act. And that is to fund education and increase student literacy. And increasing student literacy is something I think we can all agree on also. These are just 5 of the reasons that I am calling my reps this week. I use the 5 Calls app. It makes this process extremely easy and straightforward. Call, write, get involved. The No Kings protest is on March 28th. I will see you there.